What If the Shredder Was an MLP, the movie? By Batwell. Chapter 1, New World, New Army. Exploding throwing stars, told ya they'd come in handy. 80s Donatello stated as he rubbed his head. Mwahaha. Fools. Shredder stated as he rose up from his kneeling position. Your pathetic little toys are not enough to stop me. Shredder yelled at his foes. Unbeknownst to him, 80s Rocksteady plugged the cord powering the laser beam back into the power socket, reactivating the laser. It fires as Shredder begins to speak again. Owl, arg. 80s Bebop looks to 80s Rocksteady, unaware of what they had just done. Woo, that was an easy fix. Bebop said to his friend. The master will be pleased. Rocksteady said with anticipation as he rubbed his hands together. Meanwhile Shredder is being torn apart by the laser beam. No. No. Arg. No no no. I will not. I am. No. Shredder yelled as he was torn apart by the laser beam. The Turtles and their allies rejoiced as their enemy was finally gone for good. Meanwhile in another dimension, the Storm King was sitting in his throne room, while his top lieutenant, Tempest Shadow, made her way into the throne room. Your Excellency, the airships are ready to make their way to Equestria on your command. Tempest said as she bowed to her master. Well, that's good, real good. Another country hanging under my banner. I can't wait. Storm King replied. Suddenly a flash of light engulfed the room and everyone had to cover their eyes to avoid being blinded by it. When the light dissipated, everyone saw the Shredder kneeling down on one knee in the center of the throne room. Shredder opened his red eyes and looked around to see several guards surrounding him. Shredder got up and looked around at his adversaries. What fools are these? So weary of life that they dare threaten the Shredder. So eager to throw their lives away. Truly pathetic. Shredder snarled. I don't know what you're supposed to be, but you've entered my lands without my express permission. So guards, get rid of him. Storm King ordered. The guards began walking closer to Krell, who merely chuckled in anticipation. Shredder then leaped into the air, and brought his claw down on a storm guard, and slashed his chest, killing him. The guard fell limp, and landed on the floor. Another storm guard came from behind, and tried to stab Shredder with a spear, but Shredder anticipated this, and moved to the left, and jumped in the air, and kicked the guard in the face, forcing him to drop the spear. Shredder picked up the spear, and threw it into the chest of an approaching guard. It impaled him, and killed him instantly. The guard from before got back up, and charged at Shredder, who saw this coming, and did a backflip over the guard, and slashed at his back with his claw. The guard then fell to the floor, dead. This was who you had guarding you. How incredibly disappointing. Shredder said while shaking his head. Tempest growled angrily, and then fired a shot of electricity from where her horn would be directly at Shredder. Shredder rolled out of the way, and glared at the unicorn. Oh yeah, you're gonna get it now. Tempest, get rid of him. Storm King ordered. Tempest then charged forward, and leaped in the air, and kicked a stone bomb at Shredder. Shredder saw this, and leaped into the air, and kicked it right back. Tempest's eyes widened in horror as she quickly maneuvered out of the way. Storm King's eyes widened in horror as the bomb came hurling towards him. He quickly jumped out of his chair as the bomb hit it, and turned it into stone. Hey, watch it! Storm King yelled. Tempest rolled her eyes as she fired another electric blast at Shredder, who rolled out of the way, and charged forward at the unicorn. Shredder went for a roundhouse kick, but Tempest slid under it, and attempted to buck Shredder from behind, but Shredder backflipped over her, and landed behind the unicorn, and kicked her in the side of the head, sending her into a nearby wall, taking her out of the fight. Shredder then glared at the Storm King as he made his way over. Okay, that does it. I'm gonna show you who's boss, whatever your name is. Storm King yelled in frustration. Fool. You do not know to whom you speak. I'm Krell, Oruko Saki, Duke Hakuords, the one true Shredder. I'm a destroyer of worlds, and I bow to no one. Shredder responds. Storm King dashes forward in a fit of rage just as the Shredder readies his claw and reels back his hand as he moves closer to the Storm King. Once they meet in the middle of the throne room, Shredder stabs Storm King in the gut with his claw. Storm King gags as he comes to realize what has happened. Shredder removes his claw and kicks Storm King to the floor. Shredder walks over to Storm King and places his foot on Storm King's neck. He then adds enough pressure to snap his neck, finishing him off. Shredder turns his head to see Tempest recovering from her injuries. He walks over and grabs Tempest by the neck and raises her into the air. Tempest's eyes widen in horror as she stares into the red eyes of the Shredder. "Answer my questions and I may spare your pathetic life." "Where am I?" Shredder asks. "You're on Storm Island on the planet Equus." Tempest replied. "Equus? It would appear that I'm in another dimension. I must find a way back to Turtle Prime and finish what I started. But without the dimensional portal it would be impossible for dimensional travel. Is there a means of dimensional travel here?" Shredder asked. "I don't know. But maybe the princesses of Equestria know a way. They're apparently powerful enough to move the sun and the moon." Tempest responded. "These princesses are powerful enough to move celestial bodies. If that is true, they must have a means of dimensional travel. Where is this?" "Equestria," Shredder asked. "I could show you. We were about to invade in the name of the Storm King." Tempest replied. It would appear that you could be of some use to me after all," Shredder said as he dropped Tempest to the ground. She coughed and rubbed her throat with her hoof as Shredder looked around the throne room. "This worked out excellently. Not only am I still alive, but I also have a new army at my command. I shall find these princesses and return to Turtle Prime, and finish what I started. And there will be no one to stop me." "Mwahahahaha!" Shredder exclaimed. Chapter 2, Canterlot Attack. Inside the newly founded Foot Fortress, previously known as Storm Island, Tempest Shadow guides Shredder through the newly upgraded fortress as his tour guide. "How go the repairs, Tempest?" Shredder asked. "Very well, Master. Thanks to the piece of technology you gave to us from your exosuit and the weapons already at our disposal, your smartest servants have combined the two together to create weapons never seen before on Equus," Tempest explained as she walked Shredder through the weapons room. "Yes, the two merge well together. The new airship is proof of that," Shredder said as the two entered a different room where the soldiers firing laser blasters in a targeting range. "And more proof, our soldiers have been training with these new weapons and the results will be devastating to our foes," Tempest explained as they continued through the room and made their way to the new airship. "And thanks to the proper modifications to the airship, our new weapons have proven to be lethal," Tempest said with malice in her voice. "Excellent. Soon I shall have the alicorn magic I need to return to Turtle Prime, and this new army shall help secure my victory." "Tempest, what is our estimated time frame before everything is ready to launch?" Shredder asked his second-in-command. "We should be ready within the hour, Master," Tempest replied as she bowed to her master. The two then made their way to the airship, and it looked a little different. The propellers on the back of the airship have been replaced by jet boosters for faster travel, and the Storm King insignia on the front of the airship has been replaced by the Foot insignia. The two entered the ship and made their way to the command deck. The command deck had one noticeable difference: it had a throne for the Shredder to sit upon. Shredder took his seat upon his throne as Tempest looked out at the view. "Soon, I shall bring this world to its knees, and then I shall wipe out all who stand in my way forever." Ha 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 ha. Shredder laughed evilly as his plans were seeing the light of day. Much later at the Friendship Festival, Princess Twilight Sparkle was talking to Songbird Serenade about her performance. Her conversation was interrupted, however, by the sounds of thunder in the air. The ponies looked up to the sky and saw what they believed to be storm clouds in the sky. Twilight did not look happy about this development. "Storm clouds? I ordered perfect weather. Rainbow Dash?" Twilight asked frantically. Rainbow looked nervously towards her friend. I don't think those are storm clouds," Rainbow replied. "Ooh, I bet those are the clouds I ordered," Pinkie Pie said excitedly. Meanwhile, inside the smoke, the airship was making its way toward the festival. Shredder sat atop his throne as Tempest walked over to him and bowed before him. "Master, we are approaching Canterlot," Tempest reported to her master. "Excellent," Shredder replied. Shredder took note of all the decorations and assumed that some festivities were being held. "It appears we have intervened during an auspicious occasion," Shredder pointed out. Yes, today is the festival of friendship. Tempest replied with disgust evident in her voice. What an annoying useless event. Someone should make this event more exciting. And that someone shall be me. Shredder yelled. As the airship landed, the walkway lowered to the ground, and crushed a balloon animal instantly. Brian, no. Party favor yelled in anguish. From the top of the walkway a small hedgehog walked down the walkway and spoke into a speaker. Beneath of Equestria, we come on behalf of the fearsome, the powerful, the almighty. Threader. Grubber said as three banners which had the foot insignia on them rolled down the side of the airship. All the ponies began to cower in fear of this new threat. The three princesses looked from the balcony of Canterlot Castle. And now, to deliver the evil message, put your hoofs together for Commander Tempest, Grubber announced. From the top of the walkway, Tempest made herself known as she stared down at the populace below. Twilight tilted her head in confusion. Is that a unicorn? Twilight asked. I think so, but what happened to her horn? Spike replied with another question. The three princesses then landed down in front of the group, and stared at Tempest. Tempest, is it? How may we help you? Celeste asked. Oh, I'm so glad you asked. How about we start with your complete and total surrender? Tempest replied. The princesses looked at each other as Twilight nervously walked to the side of the princesses. Hi there. Princess of Friendship. Not exactly sure what's going on, but I know we can talk things out. Twilight smiled nervously. That smile was then replaced with a look of pure terror when she heard the laughter of the Shredder. From the top of the walkway, a pair of red eyes could be seen from within the airship. The Shredder then walked out of the airship and made his way down the walkway. Tempest moved to the side, so she wouldn't be in his way. You foolish equines do not know the situation you find yourselves in. Shredder spoke. If Twilight wasn't scared before, she was now. Sure, she heard threatening voices before, but there was something about Shredder's voice that made her cower in fear. The Shredder does not talk things out. The Shredder takes. You will relinquish your alicorn magic to me at once. Or else. Shredder threatened. Or else what? Luna asked. Or else your subjects shall be destroyed. Shredder replied. We shall not be threatened by the likes of you. Luna yelled in response. Wahahaha. If you will not hand over your alicorn magic to me, then you shall suffer the consequences. Shredder yelled. Suddenly the sides of the ship opened up, and three futuristic laser cannons appeared. The ponies tilted their heads in confusion, but that confusion soon turned into fear as the cannons fired blue lasers and hit several structures, destroying them instantly. The ponies screamed in terror, and ran around in a panic as several soldiers landed on the ground, and began firing upon the populace. Tempest was about to throw a bomb that would turn whoever it hit to stone, but Shredder put his arm out to stop her. No, I wish to deal with them myself. Tempest nodded as Shredder leaped into the air and smashed his claw into the ground, spreading the princesses out. Celestia fired a magic blast from her horn, but Shredder saw this coming, and rolled out of the way. The blast hit Luna, and sent her flying through the air. Luna! Celestia yelled. Celestia then flew towards Shredder, but he moved out of the way. As she was flying past him, Shredder grabbed her by her tail, and swung her down to the ground, causing her to yell in pain. Shredder raised his claw, and brought it down, but Celestia moved her head, just before he struck her. Celestia was about to fire a magic blast, but Shredder grabbed her horn, and began to squeeze. She screamed in pain. Shredder raised his claw, and was about to end her, but not before Tempest intervened. Master, you can't take their magic if they're dead. Tempest yelled. Shredder nodded as he simply punched her in the snout. Before Tempest sealed her in stone, Celestia yelled to Luna something about a hippo. Tempest then sealed her in stone. No. Twilight screamed in anguish. Cadence was shocked to say the least, but then Tempest sealed her in stone with a bomb as well. Luna then tried to fly away, but before she could take off, she felt an immense pain in her wing. She screamed as Shredder stabbed her wing with his claw. Shredder then kicked her to the floor as Tempest sealed her in stone. Twilight tried running away, but before she could go any farther, Shredder landed in front of her. Hello, princess. You have something that belongs to me. Shredder said as Twilight's eyes widened in fear. Shredder raised his claw and prepared to strike. But before he could, he was pushed away by Rainbow Dash, who hit him at high speeds. The two then began galloping away as they regrouped with their friends on a bridge. Shredder saw this, and tightened his fist. "Do not let them escape!" Shredder yelled. One of the ship's cannons then fired upon the bridge the main six were on. As the blast bit, the bridge broke apart, and they fell into the water. The ponies then fell down a waterfall, and landed in the water below. Shredder then made his way to the edge to see if they were still alive. He couldn't see anything. His eyes glowed a menacing red as he turned away, and walked back to Tempest. "Tempest, I want a search party to find those ponies. If the princess is still alive, I want her," Shredder commanded. "It will be done, Master," Tempest said as she bowed. Shredder then walked off, vowing that he will find the last princess, and take her magic by any means necessary. Chapter 3, Klugetown Escape. Tempest Shadow observed the citizens of Canterlot from the balcony in the castle. She looked at them with disgust and hatred. All this power wasted on parties when there are far greater uses. Tempest sneered as she walked back inside the castle. As she made her way down the stairs, Shredder entered with a book in hand. He closed the book, and tossed it aside. "These ponies are truly pathetic. From what I've gathered through these history books in the archives, they solely rely on friendship to run their country instead of relying on power. It truly sickens me," Shredder said to Tempest. "I concur, Master," Tempest replied. Suddenly, two guards entered the throne room, and made their way to Shredder and Tempest. One of the guards dropped a staff to the floor in front of Shredder. "What is this?" "I asked for a means to drain the alicorns of their magic, and you bring me back a twig?" Shredder asked angrily. Tempest turned to her master and bowed. "Master, this is the staff of Sakinis. It will channel the magic from within the four rulers. With it, you will have the power of 100 armies," Tempest explained. Shredder walked over to the staff, and picked it up off the floor, and examined it closely. "So, this will grant me the means to return to Turtle Prime. Excellent. You have done well, servants." Shredder handed them the staff. "Place the staff somewhere secure. Once I have what I need, then I shall put it to good use. Now leave us," Shredder commanded. The two guards left the throne room, just as Grubber entered. Shredder turned his attention to him. "You dare to return empty-handed? Where is the princess?" Shredder demanded. Grubber gulped nervously. "The Thearch party couldn't find them," Grubber replied nervously. Shredder's eyes glowed with rage as he backhanded Grubber into a wall. As Grubber was getting up, Shredder walked up to him, and hoisted him into the air by his neck. "Find them!" Shredder yelled as he threw Grubber through the throne room doors. Tempest walked up to her master, and arched an eyebrow. "Master, what is this all about?" Tempest asked. "The princess. For my plans to proceed, I must have her at once," Shredder replied. "It will be done, Master. Just give me 1 week and I'll—" "Gak!" Tempest shocked as Shredder grabbed her by the neck, and raised her into the air. "You have 3 days to bring me the princess. Otherwise we can add your head to the number of limbs you have lost," Shredder threatened as he dropped her to the ground. Tempest coughed as she stood back up. "I'll get it done, Master," Tempest said. "I should hope so, because I shall be joining you on this journey to oversee the princess capture," Shredder replied. "Yes, Master." Tempest bowed as Shredder left the throne room with Tempest following behind him. The two entered the airship with a small army boarding as well. Shredder took his seat atop his throne, while Tempest looked out at the view. The airship then began to take off in search for the ponies. "Tempest, I want to head to the closest town near Canterlot. They couldn't have gotten far," Shredder said. "Setting a course for Klugetown, Master," Tempest replied. "You can run from me all you like, Princess. But no one escapes the Shredder. Once I have your magic, I will put an end to your pathetic life." "Ha ha 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 ha." Shredder laughed. Much later, the airship had arrived in Klugetown, and landed on the outskirts of town. The walkway lowered as Shredder and Tempest walked out of the airship. Tempest bowed and said, "Master, we have arrived in Klugetown. Search every square inch of this place. I want those ponies," Shredder commanded. They all walked into town and started destroying everything. Shredder kicked a civilian into a kiosk and loomed over him. "Please don't do this. I don't know anything," the civilian pleaded. "Then you shall perish for your insolence," Shredder said as he brought up his claw and then brought it down onto the civilian's head, killing him. Meanwhile, as multiple guards were trashing the place, Grubber and Tempest were walking through the town. "You really think the pony got that far?" Grubber asked. Tempest sniffed the air and then saw a piece of Pinkie Pie's mane on a piece of wood. "Oh, they're here," Tempest said. She then raised her voice and announced attention. "A little purple pony passed this way. Tell me where she is, or thumpin' real bad's gonna happen." Grubber interrupted. Suddenly a fish-like creature made his way towards Tempest with an angry look on his face. "You think we're gonna fall for this again? I don't know what kinda scam you're working with, Capper and the rest of your friends," but the fishman was suddenly cut off. "Friends?" Tempest said curiously. "Poison or no poison, you're gonna pay." The fishman spoke in anger. He swung at Tempest, but she ducked and bucked him into a nearby kiosk. Fishman just got dropped," Grubber announced. Tempest then walked over and loomed over him. "Now, about this, Capper," Tempest spoke. "I ain't no snitch. I won't tell you nothing." The fishman spoke. "Oh, you won't have to tell me anything. It's him you should be worried about," Tempest said as she moved out of the way as Shredder walked over to the fishman in a menacing fashion. "You shall relay their location to me," Shredder spoke as he moved his claw to the fishman's face, "or you shall perish." Meanwhile, in Capper's house, the ponies were talking with the con artist. "Stop playing me." A sonic rain boom. "That's not a real thing." "Is that a real thing?" Capper asked. "I'll show ya," Rainbow said excitedly. No, I don't need you sonic rain booming up in my place, thank you very much," Capper replied. Rarity then placed a pin on Capper's jacket, confusing the cat. "Whoa, hey, hold up now. Whoa. Here you go. I do apologize. If we were back home, I could have done something truly fabulous," Rarity said kindly. "Okay, what's the catch?" Capper asked. "Nothing. After all that you've done for us, consider it a thank you," Rarity replied. "Oh. Don't thank me. Really," Capper said nervously. Suddenly, Twilight entered the room excitedly. "Guys, we've been looking for the wrong queen. We don't need the queen of the hippos. We need the queen of the hippogriffs. Part pony, part eagle," Twilight revealed. Oh, the hippogriffs. "Now, the trouble with that is, no one knows where they are," Capper said. "Says here they're on the top of Mount Terrace," Twilight said. "You mean the mountain right outside the window?" Pinkie asked. "Objects in windows may be less mountainous than they appear." "Hehehe," Capper said nervously. "Let's go, Ebony," Twilight said. "Wait. You can't make it by yourselves. You need an airship. And lucky for you, I can get you a ride," Capper said as he blocked the door. "I think we can get there on our own," Twilight said. Suddenly a mole burst through the door. "Here's Verco," Verco announced. "These ponies better shoot rainbow lasers out their eyes if they're gonna settle your debt." Brought the big cage. "Let's load 'em up." The main six were shocked by this act of betrayal. You were going to sell us?" Rarity asked, looking hurt. "I knew it. We gotta get out of here," Twilight said. But suddenly a claw burst through the door and stabbed Verco through the chest. The ponies looked shocked as he was pulled through. Verco was held in the air by Shredder, his claw still in Verco's chest. "Disgusting creature," Shredder said as he threw him to the ground. His lifeless body laid there for all to see. Tempest then arrived on the scene and glared hatefully at Twilight as Shredder entered the home. "Princess, you should have ran when you had the chance. But it wouldn't have mattered since no one escapes the Shredder. Now, you'll hand over your magic to me, or your friends' demises will be an added bonus to today's great victory," Shredder threatened. Rainbow Dash then flew over and attempted to tackle Shredder, but he quickly grabbed her by the neck and held her in front of him. He raised his claw to her neck and threatened her life. "Surrender, princess, and I may spare her pathetic life," Shredder spoke in a tone filled with malice. But before he could do anything, Capper jumped on Shredder's back, causing him to stumble and drop Rainbow Dash. Shredder flipped Capper over and smashed him onto the floor. He grabbed the cat by his neck and raised him into the air. "You pathetic worm. How dare you!" Shredder yelled as he kicked him out of the house. He landed right in front of Tempest and groaned in pain. "Restrain this buffoon," Shredder ordered as the guards grabbed Capper and held him prisoner. Shredder turned around, only to notice that the ponies were gone. "No!" Shredder yelled in frustration. He turned to Tempest. "Find them," Shredder ordered. Tempest nodded as she made her way through the town. She noticed a lot of destroyed property and saw a nearby airship. She turned to her master. "I know where they were headed," Tempest reported. As the ponies made their way towards the docks, Applejack readied a rope. But as she was about to throw it, Shredder landed right in front of them. "None of you will leave here alive," Shredder threatened. Shredder then charged forward and smashed his claw onto the ground, spreading the ponies out. Rainbow dashed forward, but Shredder moved to the side and karate chopped her neck, knocking her to the ground. Applejack threw her rope around Shredder's wrist, but he simply pulled the rope, sending Applejack towards him, where he then proceeded to kick her in the gut, sending her to the floor. Twilight fired some magic from her horn, causing him to stagger. The main six took this opportunity to dash towards the airship. Shredder turned around and saw Applejack connect her rope to the airship. As they were making their way across, Shredder dashed over and cut the rope with his claw. They all fell down, and Twilight's eyes widened in fear. She then flew down and flew in between her falling friends and focused all her magic to teleport them to the airship. The ponies vanished just before they would meet their demise. Shredder growled as he saw a violet flash on the airship, signifying their escape. He tightened his fist and glared at the airship. "Run, it doesn't matter. I will find you. I will harness your magic and return to Turtle Prime. And I will make you watch as I put an end to your friends' pathetic lives." Shredder spoke with venom seething in his voice as he turned around and walked back into town. Chapter 4. Prepare to be boarded. As Shredder was walking back, Tempest, Shadow and some foot guards were making their way over to the docks. Once they reached the docks, a foot guard shoved Capper to the ground. Capper looked up as Tempest walked around him and stopped in front of him. "Now, where are they going?" Tempest asked. When Capper didn't answer, Tempest began charging her horn. This gave Capper the boost he needed to give her information as he shot right up from the floor. "Okay, no need for violence. They were headed." Capper stopped himself as the button rarity gave him shine in the sunlight. He sighed and spoke up. "They headed east." "Yeah, to Black Skull Island. So, I'm glad I could be of service to His Majesty. I'll just be on my way," Capper said as he began to walk off, but before he could get far, he bumped into Shredder. Shredder glared as Capper gulped nervously. Shredder then kicked him in the chest, and he was sent flying into the air, and landed harshly on the ground. Shredder then loomed over him as his eyes glowed menacingly. "You'll go nowhere. Until the princess is in my grasp, your fate is still to be decided. Tempest, take him to the airship, and prepare to set a course for this Black Skull Island," Shredder ordered as Tempest bowed to her master. The airship made its way to the dock as the guards grabbed Capper and followed their master into the ship. Shredder made his way to look at the view of Kludge Town. He rested his hands behind his back as Tempest made her way next to him. Shredder then turned to the commander. "Tempest, ready the weapons and fire on my command," Shredder ordered. Tempest bowed and ordered the guards to prepare the weapons. As the ship took off, the laser cannons began charging. Tempest turned to her master. "Weapons are fully charged and ready, master," Tempest reported. "Destroy this place," Shredder commanded. The cannons then fired, and the majority of Kludge Town was incinerated. "Ha ha 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 ha. This is the power at my disposal. All who oppose me shall meet the same fate. Behold," Shredder shouted in victory. Tempest casted her eyes downward, clearly contemplating whether this was right or not. She quickly dispersed the thoughts from her mind. "This will all be worth it. Once I have my horn back, everything that has happened or will happen, will all be worth it," Tempest thought to herself. Meanwhile, the main six were having lunch with Captain Salino's crew. They were telling them about how they used to be adventurous, and Rainbow Dash decided to motivate them, telling them that they can be more than simple delivery birds, that they could be awesome. You birds have a choice to make. You could let some armored bully tell you how to live your lives, or you could be awesome again, Rainbow Dash exclaimed. Meanwhile, on the Shredder's airship, Tempest noticed something in the corner of her eye. It looked like a blast in the color of a rainbow. Tempest chuckled to herself as Shredder walked over and stood beside her. I believe we have found them, Master, Tempest stated. Yes, and it appears our prisoner tried to mislead us, Shredder said as he turned to Capper, who laughed nervously. Shredder turned back to Tempest. Prepare to intercept them. I want that princess, Shredder ordered. The airship then steered towards the sonic rain boom. Shredder looked at the ship with anticipation. Yes, soon your magic will be mine. Shredder spoke with anticipation evident in his voice. As soon as the airship got closer to where the sonic rain boom occurred, they suddenly began firing their cannons at the airship. Tempest saw this and smirked. Nice try, Tempest said evilly. As the cannonballs were about to hit the airship, they were stopped by a force field surrounding the ship. As they hit, the shield began to power up laser. As the last cannonball hit, the area where the shield was last impacted began to swirl. It then fired a red laser towards the other ship. The ship then barely dodged the horrific laser, but not by much. Ha 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 ha. Did they really believe their artillery could stop this new airship? Fools! Shredder exclaimed. Should we prepare to board, Master? Tempest asked. Yes, those fools do not realize that my onslaught has only just begun, Shredder replied. The airship then fired a tractor beam that began to pull the ship towards the Shredder's airship. As soon as it was close enough, a laser-like bridge joined the two ships together. Captain Salino and her crew were on their deck as the Shredder and Tempest walked onto her ship. Their shadows cast over them. Tempest was the one to break the silence. Where is the pony princess? Tempest asked. The captain remained as calm as she could before answering. Princess. 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 Nope. All we are hauling is foot merchandise, the captain replied. Shredder had heard enough, and walked over, and hoisted her into the air by her neck. Shredder glared angrily as he squeezed her neck. Do not attempt to deceive me, vermin. I know she is here. Reveal her location or you shall be destroyed, Shredder threatened the captain. Shredder dropped her to the floor, and stomped his foot onto her chest, and glared as Tempest spoke to the captain. You do realize that, if you were to shelter fugitives, my master here would be most displeased, Tempest said as she smirked. So, I'm gonna count to 3, and if you don't tell us where they are, your ship is going down. 1. Tempest began counting down. 2. She counted again as the captain gulped. Oh, 5th is in 10th. Grubber interjected. Shredder then raised his claw into the air, and finished the countdown. 3. Shredder finished. But before he could do anything, he heard a noise in the cellar of the ship. He turned and removed his foot from Kalino's chest. He opened the cellar door and jumped down. He landed in a kneeling position and stood up, his red eyes glowing in the dark. He walked around for any sign of the princess. He smashed multiple wooden boxes with his claw, and moved some of them harshly, that they broke when they impacted the wall. He then spotted something peculiar. He saw a cupcake. He reached down to grab it and examine it. He growled in anger as he squished the cupcake within the palm of his hand. He walked back up to the deck, and glared at the crew. They were here. But they must have escaped, while we were interrogating them. They withheld information from me, Shredder said as he turned to the crew. You will regret that decision, Shredder threatened. He then turned to see 2 guards hauling Capper to the ship. They dumped him on the floor as Shredder walked back onto his airship. He stopped halfway, and turned his head to Tempest. Dispose of these buffoons, Shredder ordered as he continued back to his ship. Tempest smiled as her horn began to crackle with electricity. The only thing that could be seen in the night sky was the glow from the electricity from Tempest's horn. Chapter 5, The Final Battle, Part 1. As the main 6 exit the water, Twilight moves ahead of the group, and begins tugging at her hair, drying it off, while Applejack scolds the alicorn. What were you thinking? I mean, Still in their pearl, Applejack asks angrily. Twilight sighs and closes her eyes. It was the only way to save Equestria. Twilight replied. Pinky then stepped forward, slightly agitated. Except it wasn't. The Queen was going to say yes. We did what you told us, and that's what made her realize we were ponies worth saving. Pinky then gasped as a sudden realization occurred to her. Unless you didn't really want us to show her the best time ever. You just wanted us to distract her. Pinky yelled. The rest of the main six gasped at this revelation, while Twilight turned around angrily. I never would have done it, but this isn't Equestria. We can't just dance around with con artists, make rain booms in the sky, and expect everything to work out. It's not enough. We're not enough. Twilight yelled. No, Twilight. We stuck together. We were gonna get the help we needed. The only thing that stopped us was you. Pinky replied using a disgusted tone. Twilight then began to walk off. Well, I'm doing the best I can. It's all on me. I'm the one Shredder wants. I'm the last princess. Twilight argued back. Pinky had had enough, and finally lost it. You're also the only one who doesn't trust her friends. Pinky accused. Twilight then turned around, and her horn started to glow as she finally snapped. Well, maybe I would have been better off without friends like you. Twilight screamed at the party pony. Pinky looked broken, betrayed, and most of all, hurt. The rest of the main six glared at Twilight as they began to walk off. Twilight reached out her hoof to Pinky in hopes to apologize. Pinky. Twilight was then cut off by Pinky sniffling. I just can't talk to you right now, Pinky said sadly. And with that, they walked off. Twilight looked broken as her head went down, and walked off in a different direction with Spike following close behind. Twilight sat atop the rocky cliff, crying. Spike slowly walked up to her, and tried to comfort her. Twilight. It's okay. You'll figure it out, Spike said. Twilight just sobbed and replied. No. I can't. I ruined everything. There's no chance to save Equestria now. It's all my fault. Spike. She gasps as she turns around, to see a foot guard holding Spike hostage. She flares her horn, but is then suddenly caught in an electric cage. No 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 no, no. Twilight says panically as the cage begins to lift up to Shredder's airship. Spike burns the guard with his fire breath and releases him. He looks up. Twilight. Spike screams. Twilight is lifted into the airship. She desperately attempts to escape by using her magic, but it doesn't work. She suddenly hears laughter, and sees Tempest approach her cage with a wicked smile on her face. Suddenly, the sliding doors behind them opened up, to reveal none other than the Shredder. Ah, Princess, he said menacingly. He then walked into the commander deck. Thank you for accepting my humble invitation, Shredder continued. He then looked over to Tempest, who bowed to her master. Leave us, Shredder ordered. As you command, master, Tempest replied as she left the room. Shredder then walked around the cage like a predator stalking its prey. I must commend you on your efforts to evade me, but you merely delayed the inevitable. It is now time for my plans to finally proceed, Shredder said to the Alicorn Princess. Why are you doing this? Twilight asked, hoping to get an answer. Shredder merely laughed in response. Mwahaha. Fool. You think I would reveal my vengeance to the likes of you? Your species is beneath me. And soon, I will see to it that your world is destroyed. Shredder threatened as he began to walk off. Twilight then got an idea. She remembered Luna's mind-reading spell. She concentrated her magic, and luckily he wasn't too far away from her. She casted the spell, and saw what he had intended to do once he got her magic. But that's not all. She saw all the atrocities Krell has ever done. From creating a planetary civil war to everything involving the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She then saw what would happen if Krell returned to Turtle Prime. The entire multiverse would be destroyed. All life that would ever exist would perish. On Earth, on Equus, everywhere. The spell ended, and they both stumbled. Twilight hit the back of the cage, while Shredder fell to one knee. He then turned around, and glared at Twilight, who had a look of pure terror on her face. She had faced evil beings before, but none that would literally put an end to all life in the multiverse. and that scared her beyond belief. You monster. How could you? All those lives, and what you intend to do, Twilight said in horrified tone. Shredder got up, and faced the alicorn with his arms crossed. So, you read my mind. No matter. It won't make a difference. Shredder spoke. You intend to end all life in the multiverse, just to get rid of your enemies? Twilight asked. Fool. I wouldn't expect any quine like you to grasp the bigger picture. Infinite dimensions. Infinite worlds. Infinite turtles. And as long as they exist, they will interfere with the plans of the Shredder. Our epic battle is never going to end, unless I make it end. And there is nothing you or anyone can do to stop me. Shredder yelled as he walked over, and sat atop his throne. Shredder began to laugh as they made their way back to Canterlot. Twilight just stood there helpless. She not only failed friendship, but the entire multiverse. As the doors to the throne room in Canterlot Castle opened, Twilight saw a sight that horrified her. Celestia, Luna, and Cadence all solidified in stone. Her cage was set down in a corner of the room as the guards left the room. Shredder glared at Twilight as he clenched his fist. Now, shall we begin? Shredder rhetorically asked. Tempest smirked as she walked over to the cage. Tempest, don't do this. Don't give Krell. Twilight tried to plead, but was interrupted by Tempest. Your magic. Did you think you'd keep it all to yourself? Time to share. I'd love for everybody out there to know what I can really do. Tempest said. And you shall, once the alicorn magic is mine. Shredder told Tempest, who smirked in response. Shredder then turned to Grubber. Retrieve the staff of Sakinis. Shredder ordered. Grubber quickly left the room, and returned with the staff in hand. He handed it to Shredder, and then backed away from him. Shredder then walked into the center of the four princesses. He was about to extract the magic, but was interrupted by Twilight. Krell. Please don't do this, I'm begging you. All those lives, if you go through with this, not only will everything else in the multiverse die, but you'll as well. I'm begging you, it doesn't have to be this way. Please. Twilight pleaded, but it amounted to nothing. Fool. I'm the Shredder, Slayer of Ninja Turtles. If destroying them means the end of everything, then so be it. Shredder yelled as he slammed the staff in a hole in the ground. The staff then began draining all the alicorns of their magic. Twilight tried to resist, but it amounted to nothing. No. Twilight screamed as her magic was being drained. Shredder laughed as the last of the magic was drained. Once the deed was done, Twilight fell down due to exhaustion. Shredder held the staff in his hands, and raised it to the sky in victory. Behold, the magic of four alicorns. At last. Shredder laughed as he turned to Twilight's cage. He aimed the staff at the cage, and fired a beam of electricity. As a result, Twilight's cage broke apart, and she landed outside on the balcony. She struggled to get up as Krell stepped outside. He aimed the staff at her again, only to notice something in the corner of his eye. As the staff moved, so did the sun. So, this magic has the ability to move celestial bodies. Fascinating. Shredder pondered before stepping over Twilight, and reaching the edge of the balcony. I believe further examination is in order. I wish to learn more of the properties this staff possess. Show me everything. Shredder said as he raised the staff to the sky. The staff fired blue lightning into the sky, and caused it to crack open with a giant blue tear in the sky. Twilight and Tempest were in awe of the sight, while Krell on the other hand was laughing. It was then that all of them heard a noise from down below. Shredder glanced down and saw Capper, Spike and the main six fighting some foot guards. Tempest walked over to the edge of the balcony, and looked genuinely confused. What? How? Tempest asked. Twilight stepped beside her and replied. It's the magic of silence. She was cut off by Krell as he backhanded her into the wall. He then turned back around, and glared downwards towards the ponies. I have grown tired of these freaks and their constant interference. This ends now. Shredder yelled as he began spinning the staff around in a circular motion, resulting in the creation of a giant tornado. Capper and the others saw this and ceased fighting. Move them hooves, ponies. Capper yelled as they all went for cover. They each looked up at the tornado and tried to come up with their plan. You'd have to be flying faster than a speeding Pegasus to break through that wind. Rainbow yelled over the wind. It was then that Pinkie Pie got an idea. Excellent idea, Rainbow Dash, Pinkie said as she put on her helmet. Back up in the castle, Shredder was laughing as the tornado began tearing things apart. Only now, in the end, do you truly understand? Shredder exclaimed. Tempest then walked over to her master and bowed. Yes, yes, you are every bit as powerful as I promised, Master. Now, restore my horn, and I swear to use my magic to serve you. Tempest requested. Krell laughed in her face. Fool. I'm the Shredder, destroyer of worlds. Why would I waste my time restoring a pathetic creature like you to her former glory? Shredder said as he walked past her. Tempest then stepped in front of him. But, we had an agreement. Tempest exclaimed. Foolish equine. It won't matter if your horn is restored. In mere moments, everything that anyone will ever know shall be destroyed. Shredder said as he fired a blast from the staff towards Tempest, who dodged it and fired back. Krell saw this, and fired another blast. The two blasts connected, and sent the two combatants flying in opposite directions. Shredder hit the wall, and fell down to the ground, while Tempest was holding on for dear life trying not to get sucked up into the tornado. Twilight saw this, and made a quick decision, to save Tempest instead of getting the staff. Just as Tempest lost her grip, Twilight grabbed onto her and saved her. Hold on. Twilight yelled. Why are you saving me? Tempest asked. Twilight smiled. Because this is what friends do. She pulled Tempest back down, and they both fell on their flanks. They both turned, and saw Shredder getting up, and walking towards them. Shredder laughed as he loomed over them, and aimed the staff at the two. And now, with a mere thought, the staff began to crackle with electricity. It ends. Chapter 6, The Final Battle, Part 2. As Mullet and Squabble prepared Pinkie Pie's party cannon, Mullet looked over to the cannon with uncertainty. You sure about this? He asked. Just do it. Thank you, Pinkie replied. Inside the cannon, Pinkie was beyond excited, while the rest of her friends were really uncomfortable. I'm excited. Who's excited? I've never been so excited. Squabble squawks and launches the party cannon, sending the main six and Spike flying towards the castle. While the rest of her friends screamed in terror, Pinkie just laughed happily. Just as Shredder was about to finish Tempest and Twilight off, he was suddenly tackled by the main six and Spike, and was sent flying into a wall, while the staff was launched into a stained glass window near the roof. Pinkie rolls to a stop on top of Fluttershy. Bullseye, she muttered. Twilight began moving over to them with a happy look on her face. Pinkie, you all came back. I'm so sorry. I was wrong too. She was then cut off by Pinkie, who hugged her, much to Twilight's shock. I'm sorry too. Friends mess up sometimes, but we never showed. Pinkie was then cut off by Rainbow, who looked really nervous. Make up later. This isn't over, Rainbow said. The main six looked up, and saw the staff of Sackinus in the stained glass window. It began crackling with power and the storm outside began to become unstable, resulting in the roof of the throne room being torn apart, and pieces of rubble crashing down into the room. Twilight turned to her friends. I've got to get control of it. Go, Twilight. You've got this, Pinkie said. No, we've got this. Together, Twilight replied as they all smiled. Applejack then tied a rope to a piece of rubble and the main six connected to one another, so Twilight could get the staff without being pushed back by its power. As Twilight was nearing, a steel claw bursted through a mountain of rubble. Shredder climbed his way of the rubble, and looked up to see the ponies trying to claim the staff. His eyes glowed a menacing red. No. The staff. I will not be denied my revenge. Shredder saw a mountain of rubble leading up to the staff. He made his way to the mountain and began climbing. Twilight saw this, and her eyes widened in fear. She reached out her hoof to grab the staff. She was so close. Shredder continued to make his way up, getting closer and closer. Twilight screamed as she tried to get the staff. I am the Shredder. I will not be bested by a group of multicolored fools. Shredder yelled as he leaped for the staff. No. Twilight yelled as she got out of Pinkie's grip, and got the staff before Shredder did. Shredder broke the window, and was sucked into the storm, but Twilight was as well. They both screamed as they were both sucked into the tornado. Twilight. Pinky screamed as she watched her friend get sucked into the abyss. The main six landed back down onto the ground, and looked to the sky as the sky cleared up. They looked up into the sky for several moments, before they all started to tear up. They then heard something in the sky, and looked up and saw Twilight, falling down at high speeds. She landed in front of her friends as they rushed to see if she was okay. Pinky hugged her as Twilight looked up weakly. "I couldn't stop him," she said weakly as Krell landed in front of them with the staff in hand. "Mwahahaha. You ponies are such fun to toy with. It is almost a shame that I have to destroy you," Shredder said. He then turned around and aimed the staff. "Now, no more delays. It is time for everything to end." The tip of the staff shot out a blue beam and a wormhole began to form in the center of the room. The wormhole then displayed an image inside of it. A black and white city with thunder and lightning storming in the skies. Mwahahaha. Turtle Prime. At last. Shredder shouted in victory. Shredder began walking forward towards the portal. The main six watched as Shredder was about to enter the portal. Behold. The end of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He said as he was about to step into the portal. He would have, if he wasn't suddenly struck by the electricity from Tempest's horn. The blast sent Krell into a wall, while the staff was launched to the other side of the room. Shredder got up, and glared at Tempest. "Tempest, you dare!" Shredder yells at her former commander. She got into a fighting position as Krell got back up. Twilight looked at the portal, and saw it was slowly closing. She could only assume that it was, because the staff was not in close proximity to the portal. Twilight turned to her friends. "Girls, I need to get that staff. You all help Tempest make sure that Krell doesn't get in that portal. If he does, we all lose. I'll go get that staff." Twilight said. "You can count on us, Twee. We got this," Rainbow said enthusiastically. The main six then stood beside Tempest as Shredder glared at his foes. "You fools have interfered with my plans for the last time," Shredder yelled as his interchangeable hands changed into sharp blades. "Now come and face your doom," Shredder yelled as he charged forward. Applejack charged forward as Krell swiped at her, but she slid underneath it, and bucked the back of his leg, causing him to fall to one knee. That gave Rainbow the chance fly directly into his chest, and sent him flying into the wall. As he got back up, Pinky appeared out of nowhere, and pied him in the face. As Krell wiped the pie off of his face, he was bombarded with an artillery of cupcakes. As Shredder growled in anger, he swiped at Pinky, who just disappeared into thin air. Shredder got up, and changed one of his bladed into a hand that shoots lasers. He fired several laser blasts at Tempest, who just dodged the attacks with an array of acrobatic leaps. As Shredder was about to fire more shots, he was blasted by a weak magic blast from Rarity. He glared and charged forward, until he was stopped by Fluttershy, who just stared at him. Fluttershy was using the stare. She expected for him to feel remorse for his actions, but to her horror, he just laughed. Her eyes widened with fear as he raised the blade over his head, and prepared to enter life. "None of you will leave here alive." As he was about to kill her, he was suddenly hit with a green flame, which caused him to stagger back, right into Rainbow Dash's path as she hit him into a nearby wall. He got up, and saw that the portal was closing. His eyes widened as his revenge was slipping away. "No. I have waited too long for my revenge. It shall not be taken from me." Shredder quickly got up, and leaped into the air in an attempt to reach the portal. But just as he was about to enter, the portal closed. He did a tuck and roll landing, and looked back to see the portal gone. "No!" Shredder yelled in pure rage. He looked to the other side of the room, and saw Twilight with the staff in hand. His eyes glowed red as he glared at the alicorn. "You!" Shredder yelled as he fired several blasts at Twilight with his laser hand. She attempted to block the blasts with the staff, but that only resulted in her being blasted outside onto the balcony. As she rolled to a stop near the edge of the balcony, Krell walked out as his hands changed back to normal. He loomed over the Princess of Friendship, and raised a claw over his head. "I will enjoy destroying you first." Shredder said as he prepared to finish her off. Suddenly, he was shoved off of the edge of the balcony by Rainbow Dash as she pushed him off at high speeds. Twilight and Rainbow sighed in relief. It was over. The rest of the main six walked over to Twilight and encased her in a group hug. Tempest watched from a distance, but then she noticed Krell leap back onto the balcony. Tempest's eyes widened and looked around for anything to help. She then realized that she had one more stone bomb left in her arsenal. No! Tempest yelled as Krell stepped closer. Tempest leaped over the group and kicked the bomb over to Krell. But he anticipated this, and leaped into the air, and kicked the bomb back. The bomb hit Tempest, and to the shock of the main six, she was turned to stone, right in front of them. She sacrificed herself for them. Krell laughed and walked over to the statue. He changed one of his hands into a blade, and glared at the statue. Mwahaha! You had your chance. Now, I have mine. He yelled as he brought his blade down onto the statue, shattering it instantly. No! Twilight screamed as she watched Tempest break apart into thousands of pieces. Tears streamed down her face as she watched Shredder murder her right in front of them. Shredder's hand changed back as he looked at the group of ponies. I do apologies for the fate of Tempest. I know you loved her to pieces. Shredder taunted as he walked closer. Now, hand over the staff and dial. He was then cut off as he was encased in a blue aura. He looked around in confusion as he was lifted into the air. What is happening? He asked and turned to Twilight, who had tears streaming down her face as she used the staff to lift him into the air. The tip of the staff began to crackle with energy and Krell's eyes widened as he knew what was coming next. No! Shredder yelled as a blue beam shot from the staff and sent him flying off of the balcony. No! Shredder screamed as he fell down towards the ground. He hit the ground and created a massive crater where he landed. Twilight peered over the balcony and saw Krell lying on the ground. His red eyes flickered away as his hands loosened. That was for Tempest. Twilight said hatefully as she glared at the crater. It was done. Canterlot was saved. The multiverse was saved. The Shredder was beaten. They had won. But it came at a grave cost. Epilogue. Krell opened his eyes almost instantaneously and looked around the room. He found himself in the throne room, only he was out of his suit and being held in a yellow aura in midair. He looked forward and saw Celestia, Luna, and Cadence looking at him hatefully. He also saw the main six with their respective elements around their necks, or in Twilight's case, on her head. Krell growled and glared hatefully at his foes. What is the meaning of this? Krell asked angrily. Krell, for the many crimes you have committed against not only Equestria, but the multiverse, you are being put on trial. Celestia explained. The charges are terrorism, staging a hostile takeover, several accounts of assault, and genocide on a grand scale. Luna reported. Not only that, but the fact that you were willing to put an end to all life just shows that you have no love in your heart, and that you are beyond redemption. Cadence added. Krell growled in response. Celestia turned to the elements of harmony. As such, the 6 elements of harmony shall solidify you in stone for all eternity. Krell's eyes widened at this. Celestia then turned back to Krell. Krell, for your many misdeeds, you are hereby found guilty. The elements of harmony began to glow. They then fired a rainbow blast directly at Krell. Bah! You are not fit to judge me. I'm the Shredder. He slowly began turning to stone. I am invincible. Die. No. Krell screamed as he was completely encased in stone, and turned into a statue. Celestia bowed her head, and glared hatefully at the Utrum. May your actions haunt you forever. Rainbow then flew across the room, and pointed her hoof at Krell's armor. So, what do we do with this thing? Should we destroy it? Fluttershy asked. No, we shall keep it here in Canterlot. The technology in this suit is extraordinary, and could benefit Ponykind for generations to come. Celestia replied. Twilight then sighed and walked towards the throne room doors. Cadence saw this, and quickly flew over to her sister-in-law. Twilight, are you okay? I failed Tempest. I failed to give her friendship. And when I was so close to giving her what she lost, she was murdered. Twilight replied. I failed as the princess of friendship. Twilight, you didn't. But I did. Twilight snapped and Cadance took a few steps back. Twilight lowered her head in shame. I'm sorry, but I just need to be alone right now. Twilight walked out of the throne room and everybody looked at her solemnly. Spike walked up to Celestia. Do you think she'll be okay in time? This has been a very difficult experience for her. I will give Krelbus. He taught my former student something I could never teach her, Celestia said. And what's that? Celestia sighed and closed her eyes. Something I never wanted for her. She opened her eyes and looked to the door. He taught her how to hate.
That's all, Zipsters! Like and subscribe.